The following show and its content are the responsibility of the show's producers and participants.
Information related in this program is not meant to substitute medical recommendations. Before starting a treatment program, you should consult your physician.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
That's right. Welcome to Couch Live here on WPSN99.com. We are on the Problem Solving Network here at Surf Monkey Media Studios out of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, here with my cast of friends. Of course, we have the Dharma Guy with us, Trinity Phillips. Hello, Trinity.
What's going on?
How are you?
I am well, sort of, I guess.
You sound well.
I'm getting well. Weller.
You're getting well.
That's
You've been a little sick.
I have been, but I am on some antibiotics and some prednisone, so I'm feeling much, much better.
So
steroids.
Yeah, he's taking all kinds of stuff now.
I am, man, right? Like I'm a walk-in medicine clinic at the moment.
A little bit. And Robbie, of course, the Grasshopper, he's back.
Yeah.
He likes taking days off just so we can congratulate him every time he comes back.
I have to say that I did get 25 out of 25 on my last organic chemistry assignment.
Oh,
Yep.
Whoa.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So it was worth it.
One step closer to Doctorville.
Why not a 26 out of 25? Why not the extra credit?
No extra credit offered.
No extra credit offered.
Oh, man. All right. I
That's
guess I'll take it.
That's pretty fantastic. Anyway, look at that. I'm ignoring all the cameras and I'm touching all the wrong buttons over here.
Uh-oh.
And they don't want to just keep seeing me on this Facebook. So let me show them. Now you guys can be seen.
What's up, guys?
There you go. All right. Anyway, today we're talking. It's going to be a little bit interesting of a show today because we're going to talk about some stuff that's highly discussed. You have the volume right there. You know, people love to argue about everything these days. There's a lot of division these days.
No.
Yes. I mean,
Are you serious?
If you talk about the presidency, you got arguments and fights.
Yes.
Right? If you talk about who lives matter, whatever lives matter, you got arguments
Yes.
and fights.
Yes.
If you talk about standing or kneeling, you got arguments and fights.
Yes.
Right? So just about every topic in the news, people are loving to divide it
Yes.
and have a discussion about it. And this one's no different today.
And I might add that already this morning, two separate people, unbeknownst to them, have already, in an indirect way, commented on what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. And so if you guys have comments on it, obviously you can comment on any of our individual pages. Hopefully we see it. Well, I probably won't be seeing as much as Trinity's. If you comment on Trinity's, for sure we'll see it.
Yes, I'm looking at it right now.
Or are you looking at yours or are you looking at the Couch Live?
I'm looking at the Couch Live, and I
Okay,
see
if you go to the Couch
Marissa
Live, you'll see it.
has already commented that she's going to be working. Sorry, but it will replay
Okay.
so you can listen to it then.
Okay.
And then Kevin Healy already started talking about some of the propaganda that is flowing swiftly, as he puts it.
Tons of propaganda out there. And there's street propaganda and there's government propaganda.
Yes.
There's both sides have a lot of propaganda and a lot of stuff said, right?
We're going to try to be the middle ground here.
Somewhere in the middle is the truth. Right? It can't be all bad and it can't be all great.
Your side, my side, and the truth.
Right. Oh no. My side is the truth.
Sure, everybody says that.
So your side and his side and then my truth.
Sure.
Is that the way it goes? That's why I have two of you.
Sure.
The truth is right here.
Right here in the middle.
The truth shall set you free.
That's right. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about that. Of course, today's show is brought to you by our great sponsors, Retreat Premier Addiction Treatment Centers and Journey Pure, two facilities that if you are having any problems in your family or if you yourself are suffering with any drug or alcohol problem, any addiction issue, just give them a call. You can find out their details. You can go to nowmattersmore.org, which is additional sponsor of ours. Go to nowmattersmore.org and go to their resources page and look for whatever level of care that you're interested in. And there's direct phone numbers on that page. In other words, you don't have to get an 800 number and who knows who you're talking to. You're talking directly to somebody who actually works for the facility and can educate you about what's happening at that facility and to evaluate whether it's a good place for you. So thank you very much to Retreat Premier Addiction Treatment Centers and Journey Pure. Because of them, we're able to do this without commercial interruption and just go all the way through. And, of course, Orange County government, our local government here close by, it's actually, we're in a different county right now. We're in Volusia County, which is where we're out of. But Orange County has been a friend to the Couch Live since 1999, and that's why we've been on the air since 1999 talking about addiction and recovery. Well, at least I have, and then these cast of characters are kind of new.
I was 4.
You were 4 when I started?
Wow.
Wow. Thank you very much for that.
Wow.
Well, I've been here for you.
Thank you.
And I'll be here when you're 400.
Oh, my gosh.
Because I'm never going to die, Robbie.
Wow.
So anyway,
only
we're
the
talking.
good die young. So.
That's right. So the medical minute, Robbie. We got our medical moment.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about some things that are considered natural to people.
Sure.
Right? So that's why we said we're going green today. It seems like we're going green. It seems like everybody's going green.
Well, that's the whole
Whether
nature
it's
versus
money
nurture,
or not.
or natural versus nature, or whatever it was. No, what would,
Not.
There we go.
Nature
yeah.
versus not
Well,
so much.
My point was early this morning when we went to go get your liquid beverage there.
My liquid beverage here.
They said that they didn't carry certain things because they wanted to be natural.
Did you see that look she gave me, by the way?
I did.
What was that about?
I don't know.
No,
Very-
seriously.
I felt
Robbie,
very
no, wait,
judged.
Time out for a second.
I felt very judged.
Did she not judge me for a quick second?
Yes.
For drinking Sobe?
Well,
No, she
that's not what I
recommended the
said.
Sobe. He wanted a liquid refreshment that had energy in it.
Yes, and I didn't want the other energy drinks that I used to drink because I'm watching my blood pressure issue. I want to make sure I'm good, right?
Sure.
Even though I love that stuff, I love a certain brand. We all know which one that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop being a monster. You're scaring me. Anyway, so we all love it. But yet, that's not what I asked for. I just said, I need a little energy here. And really what I asked for first was the water that they always have.
Yes.
I wanted their brand of water.
But
And
they
she
do
goes,
not
we
have
don't
it.
have it. But I said, is there anything in here that gives energy? I need something with energy. And she just gives me a judgment look like,
Yes.
we don't carry that here.
Yeah, we don't carry energy drinks.
As if I just asked for drugs.
Wow.
Yes.
She gave me a look like we don't do that here.
But what I heard, the thing that caught on with the words that she uses, she said,
Eat a piece of fruit.
well, but she said that we don't, we want the natural stuff. We do the more natural energy.
Right.
And then when we get here, Mr. Robbie comes in, and I asked him about the drink that he's drinking. He said, yeah, it's a more natural energy drink with all those things in it.
So natural
So
is just...
That's
That's
what
the
we're talking
theme.
about today. Is this whole we're back to nature? So what does that really mean? I guess is what we're trying to.
We're
figure
having
out.
a theme today.
Yes.
It's all about nature today.
Yes.
Cool.
Right. So that's what we're doing, Robbie.
Yeah.
You brought the natural one in, and apparently mine is a little bit more natural. It's Sobe.
Because everything in nature is great and it does no harm.
Yeah.
Like
Poison ivy.
Yeah, cyanide.
Yes.
Yeah. Arsenic.
Ricin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything in that because
Exactly.
it comes from nature, it's inherently good.
There's so many. Yeah. I've met a lot of people that are pretty natural and
Yes.
not so much.
Well, wouldn't by default, if we're all natural human beings, wouldn't everything we do then be natural?
Right.
Just saying, things to make you go
Saturday morning, afternoon.
or in
kind
this
of thing to
case,
make you
Friday.
think. Yeah. All right. So, Robbie, let's start us off, Robbie. Let's talk about Kratom. Because
I like how you
Kratom. Kratom. Well, I bring up Kratom, Trinity, because all of a sudden, everybody's giving a call.
Yeah.
And saying, what do you think about Kratom? So obviously something happened
Yes.
in the news or with the government that all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls from Fox 35 and stuff and says, would you come in and talk about Kratom?
Mm-hmm.
So, Robbie, why is Kratom so much in the news right now?
Mm-hmm.
And give us a little bit of, a medical moment of what it is.
Sure. All right. So a little preface. The DEA last year in September of 2016 really pushed to regulate this to a Schedule 1 drug.
Okay.
And due to petitions and lobbyists in D.C., they pulled that back. And now the FDA is looking at it again. But before we really get into it, the plant itself is native to Thailand and Malaysia, and they've been using it for up to 7,000 years alongside the opiate poppy to treat pain, and it's also been used as like a stimulant. And there's 2 active alkaloids in it.
Wait, back up for a second.
Yeah.
Because you said something real important.
Mm-hmm.
That same region that have been using it for 7,000 years, what else have they been using right alongside of it?
Oh, the opium poppy.
We just need to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
Chasing the dragon.
well, I'm just saying, because there's a lot of people, and again, don't start sending me emails and hate mail, you people that think, oh, he's against it, so let's go. I'm not saying yet whether I'm for or against anything. What I'm saying is that simply because it's been used for 7,000 years, and just because it's not in the United States, because there's a lot of United States haters that don't really know they're United States haters. You know, they just, everything that another country's doing, they go, oh, well, see, other countries are doing it.
Yeah.
It's the big bad America that doesn't do it.
Yes. We're horrible.
You know, and all of a sudden, because it's being done for 7,000 years in another country, they're like, well, why aren't we doing it?
Sure.
Yeah,
You know?
and to add, it's been since the beginning of its use, it's been used as a substitute for opium to treat the withdrawals precipitated by stopping.
And why would
opiates.
it do that? Why would it do that? Are you ready? Are you prepared to answer that kind of question?
Yeah, now you're getting into the sweet science stuff.
Should I already go there, or did you want to keep
for
going
sure.
where you were going first?
No, I think that's a good point, because this is what it's used for, and it's used for that because there's two active alkaloids, which it's like 7-hydroxymidogene, and then there's another one. But
you're making me thirsty.
Yeah, what they do is they act on the opiate receptors, the mu receptors in your brain. So. Opiate addiction comes when you have a long-term exposure to opiates and your receptors are basically dulled. But then if you're withdrawing, it's leaving your body, and you can put kratom in to kind of take its place and stimulate some of the same things to take away withdrawal symptoms.
Because it goes to the same mu receptor.
Yep, same receptor. It has actually there's the two compounds, one's stimulating and then one's more of a opiate effects. But the opiate one isolated is actually 35 times more potent than morphine.
Right. And I think it's real important to note that in small doses you get more stimulated.
Yes.
In very small doses.
And I think
in
it
the
also
larger
depends
dosages,
on,
it's more of the opioid effect.
Yeah. Yeah, so people that are trying to use this to self-medicate from opioid withdrawal are going to be taking larger doses of the red vein leaf.
Right. Ooh, red vein leaf.
Yeah, so there's a white, a green, and a red. The white is mostly stimulating. The green is somewhere in the middle, and then red has the opiate-like effects.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Now, keep going where you were going with that. Okay.
Yeah. So along which lines?
Around that. You said people used it for withdrawals.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is there any history or historical use where people just used it because they simply just like that?
Yep, of course. Yeah, so some of the research that I've said, a lot of like market gardeners, peasants, and laborers use this as a, not escape, but a way to get through the workday, and it's been used like that too. And the way that it's prepared is usually crushed leaves, but we're seeing a lot of extracts now in the U.S.
Right. Yeah, I think it's real important to note that some people just used it alone, as a standalone, because I think every time we say it's used to treat withdrawals, it's under almost the assumption as if it's a safe method to use when in withdrawal, when in reality, it's almost like a person that uses Suboxone on the street when they don't have heroin. They don't. Of course, you don't want the withdrawals from heroin when you're not having your heroin or opioids. So you go towards another product that may or may not be exactly the same, but does go to that mu receptor site, which again, Kratom goes to that mu receptor site.
Yeah, and a lot of people do use this just alone that have never touched opiates. So it also has a history as. And from what I gathered, people that are not treating opiate withdrawal use it for the stimulating properties and the sense of euphoria that it can bring on.
Reminds me of peyote.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of products out there that people, because they found it after they found maybe a more powerful or a more dangerous substance, at least in their viewpoint, they always tend to look at this other one as safer. And I think that's the way it's kind of being peddled, right? That's the way it's kind of being marketed and be sold. Sold, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of people that have tried it, and the fact that it's not regulated right now is like, well, how are you going to do this? We've been using it for so many years, and now you're just going to pull it out from under us and make it a Schedule I drug. Right. So that's where a lot of the blowback is coming from.
So were you able to find any research that would say the use of this is actually being used as a recovery tool? Did you find anyone? Has anyone done any research that you're able to find where they actually can stand behind saying this is an effective tool for recovering from an opioid?
I did listen to a clinical scientist was basically, there was a 20-minute long video, and he was asking for funding because he wanted to do something like this. Right. All the research that's been done has been done mostly in like mice, and there's some with humans like in the 1950s, but yeah, it's kind of weak. There's weak evidence in its efficacy in actually treating opiate addiction in a clinical setting.
And from what you found, why is that, Robbie? Why is it that we're not seeing the research in it? Because obviously some people are going to say, well, it's because the pharmaceutical companies are making money off this, and government officials are making money on the illegal drug trade. But why not Kratom? Why would people not want to make money off this if it, number one, was a drug, or number two, it was a treatment? Why didn't the drug side or the treatment side use kratom in these 7,000 years as a marketable substance?
Right. Well, I don't know about, I can't really speak for like Thailand and areas that have had it forever, but in the U.S., I was involved in drugs and I had never heard of kratom,
Right.
so I just don't think it's something that people really have known about, and the research hasn't been there to back it. I just don't think it's been like prominent in the public eye, I guess you could say.
Well, one would say because it's not as strong.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
I mean,
not. Yeah.
You know, if you have an A product and a B product, and A product is just a hell of a lot better for what you're trying to do.
Opiates in this case.
Opiates in this case. Well, then why would you do the lesser of the two?
Exactly.
Right? And the reason we're not seen as a treatment, some may say, well, we have so many other more effective treatments.
Exactly.
Because a pharmaceutical company would have took this a long time ago if it was an effective treatment.
But that's what they might be doing right now. That's what we might be in the process of.
In the evolution of maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, because I can't think of one pharmaceutical company that is currently on the books, and it takes years.
Oh, I know.
And I haven't heard of any company that's currently researching kratom for the use
me neither.
of the treatment or anything for that matter. So I think if it was, we should know about it. Now, maybe in some corner of the world or something, somebody may be doing that, but I haven't heard of anything, at least not through anything stateside.
Yeah, everything I see is anecdotal at best. Like just saying, I don't see anything. I see a ton of people offering it and touting it as something to help with withdrawal symptoms and things of that nature.
Right.
But I can't find anything like any legit like peer-reviewed study that was done that shows its efficacy.
Yeah.
Oh, I just found one. So
Oh,
keep
there it
talking,
goes.
and I'm gonna.
Okay, and Trinity, can you talk a little bit about what anecdotal is and what is the importance? Why, when we talk about, we want to see some research and numbers. Why is that important? Because you're in another industry as well that's real important. The weight loss industry, the fitness training industry. So why is peer reviewed study so important?
Well, the reason why, so you can duplicate it, so you can show that it's not just a one-off kind of a thing.
Right.
Anecdotal would be basically, hey, my friend did such and such. Everybody's got a friend that magically did something.
Right.
And the problem is we don't know. When you don't know an actual research study that can be duplicated, you don't know if what you're touting as the reason for that result is actually the reason for that result.
Right.
So that's where you get into some of it would be causation versus correlation. So let's say I wore a red shirt today, and let's say it was under 80 degrees.
Right.
So I could tell you, oh, well, my red shirt caused it to be under 80 degrees. And
Right.
you could tell your friends, like, man, my guy, every time he wears a red shirt, it's 80 degrees.
Right.
That's not really a study. That's anecdotal. That's me saying, hey, I've noticed that this happens when that happens. Now, we're all hopefully smart enough to realize that my shirt does not cause the temperature change, but we know that through research, because you could wear a red shirt and document it every day and find out that it doesn't cause it, and so it disproves that theory.
Right.
And so that's why research is important.
Well, do you find that most people tend to judge something based on personal
Yes.
opinion and personal experience?
Yes.
So why should it be different when it comes to medication or solutions?
Because people's lives are in the balance here.
Okay.
I'm okay with you giving me your opinion
Right.
on a certain headphone or something, or
Right.
a car, or what I should purchase or something like that. But when it comes to my health and how it's going to impact my livelihood and how I'm going to interact with a medication that could be very serious,
Right.
I want studies. I want proof that people have tested this and they know what's going to happen. Because if I get a car and I don't like it, maybe I'll just get mad at you or something. But if I take a drug and it's not good for me, I can die.
Right.
And so that's why it's important to have those studies. And if something goes wrong, somebody's held accountable. I can sue them. I can go after somebody. I couldn't sue you because you told me a certain car was good and I bought it and I didn't like it.
Right. So your friend Josh, who last week stole your dope and helped you look for it, is not the same good resource to use on how to get off of dope.
No.
Okay.
And that's the thing, man, is everybody's an expert because they have the internet nowadays.
Right.
But there's a difference between reading an article and being an expert.
Right.
Reading an article is interesting, but you and I talked about this at length. Typically speaking, we as human beings, when we go to look for something, we typically do the confirmation bias, where we try to look up something that proves our theory,
Right.
also known as Occam's broom, where we basically try to find facts that support our stance.
Right.
Very rarely do we look up the other side of things.
Right.
And so that's why it's important as an expert, as a professional, that's what you get taught, the factual information, both pros and cons.
Right.
Whereas, Josh, who's helping you find something, he's already pro taking something. So he's looking for kratom as an example, as something else he could take.
Right.
As opposed to going to doctors, whatever. He takes it, maybe he gets a little bit of relief. So now he touts it to everybody. Oh, I don't need all that crap. I just got kratom. It works for me. You should do this too.
Right.
Meanwhile, maybe you're allergic to it. Maybe it doesn't work the way it's intended. You take it and you get sick, you die. Or you have some other complication.
Right. And like you indicated yesterday, everybody knows someone who smoked cigarettes and didn't get lung cancer. But does that make nicotine safe? Does that make cigarettes safe?
That's my go-to, because everybody always, whenever it comes to these types of
Right.
debates, and I'm sure you guys can both relate, everybody always goes to the outliers.
Right.
Everybody immediately goes to the exceptions to the rules. So if you try to tell somebody, for example, hey, don't smoke cigarettes, it causes
Right.
cancer, or what I usually hear it most in, especially when I'm trying to talk nutrition or health, people always say, oh, I'm going to die anyways. My grandmother ate red meat and smoked cigarettes for 90 years, and she
Right.
lived to be 90.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to say if we took the statistics, out of 1,000 people, you might find two that lived to 90 smoking
Right.
cigarettes every day. The rest of them got cancer.
Right.
Yeah, 550 of those 1,000 will die from lung cancer.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
let's not focus on the outliers.
But we do as a people,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and everybody thinks they're the Michael Jordan of marijuana, Michael Jordan of kratom,
Yep.
the Michael Jordan of
Yep.
alcohol.
Yep.
I've heard people think they're the Michael Jordan of cocaine.
Sure.
I would never let myself get addicted to it, so I just do a little bit of it. I'm just like,
Good luck with that.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
brother, you may be the unusual
Sure.
person, but that doesn't mean the guy right next to you that you're doing it with is going to be able to do that as well, because there might be something biologically with you that keeps you safe. We don't know.
Well, and the funny part is we don't accept those statistics in anything else
Nothing.
other than our behavior.
Nothing.
Like if I told you I'm going to sell you a car, but I'm only
Right.
going to give you 50% of it.
Right.
You walk outside, you got 4 tires and some seat belts.
Right.
You're gonna be pretty upset. Like, hey,
Right.
where's the rest of my car? But hey, you're cool with 50%.
Right.
So,
Right.
but so it's only in our little our own biases that we're looking to confirm. That's the only time we accept outliers and these weird possibilities.
And things from other countries because
Yeah.
because that you can't these people are hidden away from arrest or
Yeah.
accountability.
Yeah.
You don't even know who they are, so you can't even sue them later on.
Yeah.
But it's not like you accept that any other time. But man, as soon as someone says it's from out of this country, these same people that distrust our government, same people that distrust our legal system, for some reason, very trusting of other governments and other systems.
People who pee in holes apparently are better than we are.
They'll say, I have trust issues. They'll say, oh, I don't trust the government. It's corrupt and everything. But they'll trust a government in the middle of Southeast Asia somewhere who's also
Exactly.
corrupt, right?
Well, and my same concept though is it's just the hypocrisy just runs deep among that population.
Very much so.
And I've noticed especially in the fitness world, right? They question everything. One of the ones they posted out about science, they were saying how when the eclipse was happening, everybody just took the scientist's word that they knew it was coming. They didn't question it. Well, how do you know that? It's not. I had a friend. They just accepted that science was right, but then the rest of it we question it constantly, man. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Come on. It's
I understand when people question things that aren't scientifically proven, but when you have actual science and still question it,
yes.
you have to ask yourself what's your real motive here. What is it you're really trying to do? And I think you hit it really well. When you said we look for what we want.
Yeah.
Plus, look, if I just want to get high, I'm going to look for any evidence that it's okay for me to get high. Period. That's what I'm looking for.
But the same people who are spouting, like you said, against, against science or against the country or whatever it may be, they still get their kids vaccinated. They still get vaccinated. They still trust Tylenol. They still do all these other things that are all around only because of scientifically peer-reviewed studies over time.
Right.
So it's like you can't cherry pick. If you're against science, then cool, be against science. Then that means stop taking your vaccines, and that means stop taking your Tylenol and your Advils and your ibuprofen.
Don't go to the doctor.
Don't go to the doctor. Your car.
Go to Josh. Josh may make you a headache pill.
Well, give up your car because that was all science.
Right.
Don't fly any planes.
That's right.
Don't just basically go out in the woods with a club and fire and just sit there.
Right.
Join an Amish community.
Yeah, and that's your lifestyle.
Yeah. Not
They're
that
not
there's
willing to
anything
do that.
wrong with the Amish.
No, but they're not willing to do that. They're
I
not
like
willing
their
to,
pies.
Sure, they're not willing to give up the niceties of life.
Right.
So it's science comes with all that too, though.
Sure does.
And that's what people don't want to realize.
Right. Robbie, what'd you find?
All right, so this is a case study. So it's a peer-reviewed scientific article written about one patient, and in it does state a lot that there's lacking evidence in this what we're talking about, opioid opioid disorder self-treated with Kratom. And it's a 43-year-old male who was addicted to hydromorphone for a unbeknownst period.
Unknown?
Unknown period, yeah.
Okay.
And so last 3.5 years, he was taking Kratom by himself, spending $15,000 a year on it. And what
$15,000 a year on Kratom?
Wow.
confirmed by his wife.
Is it,
that all
how
he-
expensive is this stuff?
Yeah, geez.
I didn't know it was that expensive.
I think what I was reading is like it's around $15 for an ounce, and the normal dose is 7 to 10 grams if you're trying to get the opiate effect. So
Wow.
yeah. So basically, this guy went into the hospital because he was in precipitated withdrawal after hydromorphone. He was administered modafinil, which is just like narcolepsy medicine, with Kratom, and he had a grand mal seizure. So this is really the only scientific evidence I've seen about it, and it doesn't look good. So I could see how the FDA or DEA could take something like this as their evidence, but there really does need to be more studies done.
All right, so before we go too far one direction, let's hop on the other direction for a second.
Sure.
Because let's talk about the government propaganda and the fear tactics, because that's what a lot of people take issue with, right? They always feel like, oh, it's about money. Well, there's nothing more about money than drugs, right? But it's on both sides, people. I mean, to say that the treatment side or the legal side or the offense side is just about money. What do you think drug dealing is about?
Yeah.
Listen, the reason that it's available to you in the first place is because somebody found a population of people that want something undetected, want something because it's a vulnerable population. The opiate addict right now is suffering. They're dying. They want out of this problem, this cycle of living. They're desperate. So it's an easy population to then come in and say, well, I have a solution for you, and yet you can still get high.
Yeah.
Or you could still not necessarily get high, but get some of the
You can
the
feel
benefit that
a
you want.
buzz, yeah.
Right. This is the effect you want. Instead of, you don't have to go to meetings, you don't have to go to group, you don't have to do counseling, you don't have to go to rehab, you don't have to go to church, you don't have to do any of that foo-fooish stuff.
Isn't that what it is?
You can keep using Kratom.
But that's what it
You
is.
can smoke pot. You can use this. You can use a synthetic. Whatever. The point is that it's an easy population. It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Sure.
Now that is about money, right?
Yeah.
That is. But
Well, yeah, I don't think your friend Josh is doing it because he loves you so much.
Josh is definitely not doing
I
it
think
because
he's
he
doing it
loves
because he wants to make money.
you. Josh is doing it because he's making money. You know, $15,000 a month. This one guy.
Oh, jeez.
All you need is a few of those. You're
But-
set. A year.
But I think you hit it on the head, though. Like
It'd be a month for me.
That'd be a lot. Yeah. But I think you hit it on a larger topic, though. I think that's why those things are successful.
What?
Because everybody always wants whatever the desired goal is, but they don't want to put the work in to get to it.
Right.
I want to feel better. I want to no longer have addiction ruin my life, but I don't want to give up the good stuff.
Right. And I don't want to get caught. So
Yeah.
anytime there's a new synthetic that's under the radar,
Yeah.
or a new natural product, and we'll talk a little bit more about natural in a minute, that's under the radar,
Right in my wheelhouse.
they're easy. It's easy. And I'm not trying to say, you're an idiot or you're easily bamboozled, but you want to still get high. Those of you that are really fighting this, you wanted a product. This is what you were looking for. But what is that? I Want a New Drug? That Huey Lewis song back in the day?
Wow, yeah.
You know why we liked it?
Good song, though.
Because he was right. We just wanted a drug that did all the fun stuff, all the good stuff, but just didn't make me feel sick and get me in trouble and, make my world collapse around me.
Actually, wasn't he trying to get a drug to make him feel like he did when he was around his girl? Isn't that what it was?
You
Just
read
gonna be
into that a lot deeper. All I remember is
he
him putting
said
his face in the
his
ice
word
water.
was, I want to,
Right.
makes me feel like I went with you.
There you go. Well, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
Ecstasy came out with that, and they did good with it.
There you go.
Man, they made $1 million. I wish I would have came up with that drug, right? Just come up with a drug that says, call it orgasm, and of course you're going to sell millions of it.
Yeah.
Real quick, Marge had a comment on this, and she said that because we all have some sort of mental health, anxiety, stress that we don't want to deal with and move on from, but instead ignore with drugs and other escapes.
Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you were talking about it. It's something to avoid really looking at yourself and figuring out what's making you do these things.
Because that's corny.
Nobody wants to address their behavior these days, man.
Because that's corny. We just, we don't. That's too deep. That's too much thinking. We like to be ignorant. We really do. I mean, we like to play smart when it comes to our drugs. You know, oh, look at the way, this is the way you should use it, not the way you use it. Oh, I smoke out of this cool vape. Look, this is the coolest vape on the planet.
Yeah.
Not like, you know, they have all these real cool devices to smoke pot and oils and all these different things now. It's just, it gets real arrogant, real conceited, and real one-up-ish, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, you know, there's always this elitism of drug use. I was an elitist when it came to cocaine. I felt like my cocaine was better than other people's. I felt like I was getting it from a better place. I felt like the cut that we used.
Once you get it from the Medellin?
We're not going to get into anything of that, man. There's people on here that remember this. I'm not saying anything. But the point is that when you have a product, a drug, there's a lot of elitists in the drug world, and this is no different. You know, it reminds me of those guys that are really into different acids, and they start saying all kinds of names and numbers, and they love it when it comes from somewhere like Amsterdam that nobody has had here. You know, it's like the kid with the shoes that nobody else has. It's no different.
Yeah.
You know, it's the game move that nobody else can do.
Yeah.
You know, it's the way you dribble the ball that nobody else can dribble like you. It's how, you know, we always want to be better than the other person. We always want to have the strongest drugs. Here's the problem. Like you said, Robbie, we don't want to look at ourselves. We don't want to treat ourselves like Marge was talking about. We don't want to do that kind of work like Trinity was saying.
Because
again,
it's hard.
It's just like, again, I wanted to talk about the other side because there's opportunities. While we said going green, there's opportunities on the other side too. Like a treatment center that says, you know, we have the cure.
Yeah.
Well, you say you have the cure because you know there's people out there that
want. Yeah.
That's what they want, and they don't want to believe. They absolutely don't want to believe that there's no cure for their loved one.
Sure.
They absolutely refuse to believe that there's not a cure. Also, they'll say things like, "We're not a 12-step program." Well, why? Yeah. Because they know, advertising-wise, that does really well because there's a lot of people that said, "Oh, I've done AA, it didn't work for me."
Yeah.
But they've been to like 3 meetings.
And didn't do any of the steps.
They've never done all the steps. They've never had a sponsor. They've never lived, you know, a year or two within that program to know what it can actually do. Instead, they drove past one, basically,
or they had a friend
and claimed to be an expert in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's like look, I was raised with Catholicism, and I'm not an expert in Catholicism. I've driven in I don't know how many cars, and yet I still can't fix one. I've flown on how many flights, and I still can't fly a plane.
Yeah.
So simple behavior by being in it or seeing it or being around it doesn't make you an expert in it.
No.
And so we don't want to do the hard work. I didn't want to do the hard work to become a pilot. I didn't want to do the hard work to learn how to fix a car. And there's a lot of you out there that don't want to do the hard work to look inside yourself to see, look, maybe I do really want to smoke pot. Maybe I really do want to do some Kratom. Maybe I do want to continue drinking or smoking cigarettes. But let me at least evaluate the situation before I start arguing with people about it.
Yeah.
And then the other side, the propaganda side, all they know how to do is try to scare us to death.
Yeah.
It's the gateway. If you do this, you're going to die. You know, you're going to try it once. And
Everything's
you're gonna
a gateway.
die. Everything's a gateway. Well, let me tell you,
something.
that latte in your hand is a gateway.
Yeah.
Sugar's a gateway. Caffeine's a gateway. There's a lot of gateways.
Yes.
The true gateway is ignorance. The true gateway is not listening. We don't like to listen. Everybody's talking, but nobody's listening. You have one side say, oh, the left, the left, the left. The other side say the right, the right, the right. And they're not listening to each other.
No.
Like we were talking about those other issues. Whatever lives matter. Neither side is listening to each other. The kneeling or standing. Neither side is listening to each other.
I think people are listening to respond. They're not really listening to understand.
They're on pause, Trinity.
Yeah, exactly.
They're on pause, waiting to say their viewpoint again, louder.
Be on record.
Be on record.
Be on record.
That's what I constantly tell my kids. That's the training ground for my children. Is always be on record. Because this pause button, you don't get nowhere.
Yeah.
You're just waiting to speak again. You know, and so that's the problem even with this. Look, I know because pot was my drug of choice. I don't care what else I did. Pot was the standard. And I hated it. And I know a lot of you can relate to this. If you even talk negatively about pot, if I even thought you were going to go negative with pot, it was as if you were talking about my grandmother. I mean, it's like you are the worst human being on the planet and the most idiotic human being on the planet. The one counselor that probably had an opportunity to get through to me, the only counselor I've ever saw in my life in school, because they caught me smoking, sits me down and says, so why do you smoke pot? You know, because they had me on video.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the stupidest question anyone ever asked me. I just simply looked at them and said, have you ever tried it? Because I was like, if you would have tried it, you wouldn't ask me such a stupid question.
If you know what it did for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so instead of me understanding that there are a lot of different things and they're not always lifelong healthy, that they may work for the moment, but is it sustainable? And that would have been the conversation. That would have been the thought process. That's the thought process I needed. Is what I'm doing today necessary, healthy, sustainable, and am I still going to get what I want out of it? Which what I really wanted is everybody leave me the hell alone and didn't want to go to jail. Yeah. But everything I was doing was saying, hey, look at me, catch me if you can. Let's play cops and robbers. Right? And that's like, unfortunately, so many of our brothers and sisters who are using some of these other products still, instead of doing recovery, they either get bamboozled by these treatment centers that are conning them into believing that, you don't have to do meetings.
Yeah.
You don't have to. There's a cure. Don't listen to all these people. They're all wrong. This is not a lifelong thing. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be an event. It's gonna be over, and you're gonna be good for the rest of your life, like me.
You know how many people I hear that from, though, to be honest with you? Just doing groups over the years now?
Yeah.
They all, not all, I should say, but a large majority of the ones I dealt with when they were coming in early, they used you, as a matter of fact. They would always ask me, does he go to meetings every day and things of that nature? And I would always say, not that I'm aware of. I was like, however, he's almost 30 years clean, number one. Number two, he does it for a living every day. But they all had this magical, misconception in their head that, they're reaching for a goal that, I'll never have to do this anymore.
Right.
And so, as opposed to just, this is my lifestyle.
It's my entire life.
I'm gonna do it. They all just thought this is something you do until you don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
Very few of them just accepted the fact that this is my new lifestyle. Having said that, those same people had already accepted the fact that whatever drug they're going to do, they're going to do forever.
Right.
So they had no problem accepting that.
Right.
But now they can't accept working on myself forever, which I always thought was just weird.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And I think there's a lot of people out there that, they look at somebody who maybe is successful in a certain way, like that attorney who's smoking pot, and go like, well, look, he's able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not looking at the dropout that smoked pot.
Yeah.
If you're going to look at the attorney, you got to look at the dropout.
Yeah.
The 100 dropouts for that one attorney.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, and I'm not anti any substance. I'm anti the argument and the ignorance that it's working for you, therefore it works for everybody.
Sure.
Look, if it works for you, fantastic. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And that doesn't mean it's the cure-all. What it means is, hey, there may be something to this. Let's research it. If you really want to put your money where your mouth is, become a researcher, maybe fund some research.
Prove it.
But here's the other problem. If something is not allowed, like when we were walking back here to the studio today, Trinity, you said, well, let's go. We knew we had to go across the street, right? It would be considered what?
Jaywalking.
Jaywalking. Do I think jaywalking is that big of a deal? No, I don't.
No.
But the corner is just right there.
Sure.
So I said, well, let's go to the corner, right?
Yep.
That was just an instinctual thing in my head that says there's a rule in my head. Somewhere I listened to that rule. Somewhere in my history, I got a ticket for jaywalking, which is a true deal.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who had an actual ticket.
High school. High school. They used to do it right outside of Hanks High School in El Paso. No. They used to try to give tickets.
Gotcha.
And so I got a jaywalking ticket real early on in my high school days. And so ever since that jaywalking ticket, I've been conscious and aware when I'm jaywalking. I'm not saying I didn't do it.
In your case,
but I was
aware.
Worked. It made me more aware. Correct. Because there was a consequence at some time.
Sure.
Again, another one. Have you ever driven past a crosswalk where someone's standing at the crosswalk? Have you ever just driven right by one?
Yeah.
Because I see people do it all the time. They don't stop.
It depends on the situation, but yeah.
Right, especially here beachside.
Yeah.
Well, you know that if there's somebody standing in that crosswalk, you're supposed to stop. If they're standing at the crosswalk, you're supposed to stop at that crosswalk and let them walk.
Right.
But a lot of people don't. Well, I used to not. Until in Hollywood, California, right there in front of Mann's Chinese Theater, I got a ticket.
Oh, man.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was like, you just told me something, like the world was flat. I said, what are you talking about? He says, no, whenever there's someone in that crosswalk, it's illegal to pass it. And he wrote me a ticket.
Wow.
What I'm saying is sometimes we can go just along with this ignorance, and it's not like it's going to affect you greatly or something like that. But that right there, every time I pass a crosswalk, you know how many times I've used that in my life now? Where I see somebody there, and I stop, and I'm the only one, and then someone else stops because I did.
Yeah.
Right.
But if I would have stopped, they probably would have kept going. And I know that because as soon as I stop, they're like almost slamming on their brakes. Oh, I guess I better do that too. Why'd you do it?
Yeah.
Because we're a bunch of sheep and a bunch of followers.
Well, I do that all the time with school buses.
Right.
Because it's always whenever nobody seems to know the rule about the school
The
bus
little
when it's
sign?
on the other side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
They don't realize that if it's 5 feet or more, you don't have to stop. Anything under 5 feet, you're supposed to stop.
I don't even know what that 5 feet rule
The
is.
median.
I didn't know either.
It has to be a concrete barrier or some sort of different. Like if you're in like a 4-lane highway,
Right.
and in between you and the bus on the other side, there's no raised median or anything, you're supposed
Right.
to stop.
On a 4-lane highway?
Yeah, you're supposed to stop.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that one.
If there's not a raised median between the
So
two
the
of
raised
you,
medium saves kids' lives. Is that what you're saying?
it gives them, I guess what they're insinuating, it gives them
barrier.
a place to stop, some sort of a barrier
I
to
got
hitting
you. I
them.
got you.
But there's nothing
Interesting.
there.
Well, see,
And there's been many times where I've stopped and I see people whizzing right by me.
then that is my point. So same thing with all drugs, all substances, whether it be coffee, cigarettes, caffeine, sugar, cocaine, pot, kratom. I don't care what it is. The point is that until there's some sort of stoppage or barrier or some sort of life lesson, you don't even take a look at it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that once you've had any issue with any substance, you should back up and start looking at all substances.
Yeah.
That's the point. The point is, don't come to me and tell me, hey, Louie, I know you're not an anti-pot person, so, smoke pot. And I say, well, I may not be anti-pot, but I've had issues with other substances. And because I've had issues with other substances,
Sure.
I now give respect to anything I ingest that may cause me to continue using it despite rules, despite regulations,
Consequences.
and despite consequences. And that's what some people are doing. They're looking away. Like, here something is illegal, and they're doing it, and you're saying, well, I'm doing it because it should be legal. No, but you're breaking a rule, and part of your problem may be that you tend to think that rules don't apply to you.
Yeah.
And when you live your life thinking rules don't apply to you, you leave yourself open to a lot of other problems in your life, like divorce. Because I guarantee you, what you may think a rule doesn't apply to you, I bet your wife or husband may think a little bit differently of how that rule should apply to you. Getting fired. Because I think what you think is okay for you to do, you may have a boss someday that says that's not appropriate in my business.
Yeah, there's quite a few of that going around right now.
But you right? Isn't
absolutely.
that true?
Yeah.
Because more importantly than is something addictive or non-addictive, is something harmful or not, or legal or not legal, is this. Is there a rule attached to it? And am I breaking it?
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, to have a successful recovery, like I feel like I have a successful recovery, is because I abide by rules. I try to abide by rules, which is why, taking us back to walking across the street, Trinity, to me not walking directly across the street and going to the corner instead is an example of how I got clean and sober and stay clean and sober. Because it's those kinds of things that if I recognize that if I cross here, I'm doing something wrong, and it's just right there anyway. Let me just do it the right way.
Sure.
Those are the things that if you do it, and Robbie, you can attest to this, if you do enough of those, the not using is the easy part.
Oh, definitely.
It's the living life on what they say life terms. What I call it is living by the rules. If I live by more rules, the more comfortable this life just becomes.
Sure.
Yeah. And you can complicate it and go into spiritual principles and all that, but it really can be broken down to what you're saying. Just do the right thing and live by the rules that others have succeeded with.
Because that's so hard to do early on, Robbie. I mean, many of us that got into drugs and alcohol, I was a rule breaker.
Oh.
I got excitement from because I was oppositionally defiant, but all that comes from there was issues between me and authority figures. And that's what opened the doors for drugs to get powerful in my life in the first place. That's what allowed illegal activity to get powerful in my life in the first place.
Yep.
So if I continue to break a rule or challenge authority, it's not healthy for me.
Sure.
I have no problem if the University of Central Florida wants to do a marijuana case and check out to see if marijuana or kratom is good for people. Look, man, it's not unhealthy for them to evaluate it.
For us.
But because of me and my history of breaking rules and breaking the law and how that works out in my life, it's unhealthy for me to do it. Does that make sense? And I'm hoping that's making sense because it's not about being against pot or being against kratom. It's about telling a heroin addict that kratom is the next best thing where they should be able to smoke marijuana because they did that with alcoholism. I mean, when I first got into AA, I remember people saying, the marijuana maintenance program. There's a lot of people that never got healthy because of that. And it's not that marijuana was horrible. This is not a definition of marijuana or an attack on marijuana. It's just for that alcoholic, marijuana was not the answer. For that alcoholic listening and sacrifice and working on some internal issues of what led, all the internal anxiety and the depression and the sadness and the escaping.
Yeah.
All that was necessary to work on.
Well, I mean, I have something similar. I mean, it's not a substance, but same kind of concept.
What's up?
I sold my motorcycle when I got my truck.
Yep,
And
I remember that day. I was there.
Yeah, it was a sad day, but I won't get another motorcycle.
Not for me, it wasn't.
Not because I don't believe in motorcycles, not because I don't
Right.
think they're fun, but
Right.
because I'm not one of those people that can get on a motorcycle and not do stupid things.
Right.
I'm just not. I had way too many years of racing and stunt shows, and I still love adrenaline way too much.
Right.
And I can't tell you, even on my own motorcycle back in the day, how many times I told people, like, oh, it started out with, oh, I'm not going to go fast or anything, and I start going fast. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to do tricks and
Right.
stuff, then I started doing tricks.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to race and drag knee. Then I started racing and dragging
Right.
knee. And then it turned into, man, I'm driving too crazy. Like today, I'm not going to drive crazy. Today, I'm just going to get where I got to get.
Right.
And then I drive crazy. Like, so I can't control myself on a motorcycle. I've got kids. I've got a wife. I've got too much to lose. So I will probably never own another motorcycle.
Right.
Because of that.
Which is
Not
why
that
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not against motorcycles, but for me personally, I don't do well on that.
Right.
And I want to be around, so I have to make that decision.
And that's not exactly the same, but that's kind of why I have one, and it just sits in the garage, and I don't work too hard to get it out of the garage, because even though I learned how to be safe on a motorcycle, I also have a history, not like yours. I didn't stand on top of mine. I just rode it the way it was, but just went a little too fast. But more along the point is, what the motorcycle meant for me was a sense of freedom that I really enjoyed, and a sense of rebellion that I really enjoyed. And I no longer need to be as free or rebellious, because I'm very content in my life. I feel free in my life now, and I feel very content with where I'm at. And I notice that takes away a lot of what drew me to the bike in the first place. Even though I really do love the bike, I can't help but think there's a lot of people out there that don't love bikes and don't know how to drive around bikes.
Right.
And my kids want me to live as long as possible. And I don't need to take that risk today. So that risk behavior, that at-risk behavior, Trinity, it goes away if you're healthier.
Yeah.
But when you're not healthier, you still continue to take just as many risks, because it's still that escapism that you're using. It's still, instead of occupying that need for speed or that daredevilish with something else, you still just keep it as daredevilish and need for speed. But there's other things that can fulfill that. But early on, you can't compare that. You can't. I don't care if you have a little baby. There's no way holding that little baby felt the same kind of high as it felt to fly on the streets on a motorcycle. I'm sorry, it just didn't. I love you girls. I love my two daughters. But holding you early on in my life did not feel as good as riding that bike.
Well, it's because it's that like sustained pleasure. Not, you don't get like that instant high from.
It's a different type of high.
Yes.
The pleasure impulses per second when you're about to die are very up here. So when you try to compare your life, this is the problem with using drugs or doing risky behavior. The high and rush is so up here, but regular life is here.
I think for
You
me,
have to learn how to be okay with here.
My difference was with my children when they were born, feeding them. I just felt grateful. I felt happy.
Yeah, it's a whole different
I felt
feeling.
like content, I guess. Because I look back on pictures of like day one, hold my babies and feed them.
Right.
I still get feel with that, like, oh, that was such a cool moment.
Freaked me out.
The rush of the adrenaline from is a completely different high. Like, one is grateful, one is like, yeah.
Mine was all fear.
Really?
I was, every time I held my kids, I was afraid of dropping them and hurting them, their neck cracking. All I could picture is like, because sometimes how they just like move real fast.
Sure.
Like babies move real fast, and all of a sudden their neck flies back. Like, whoa! I feel like I'm gonna break their neck. So every time I'm holding a baby, people would look at me and go like, "You really don't know how to hold a baby, do you?" Because I was just terrified, just terrified. It wasn't a pleasant feeling. I always told Dana, I can't wait till they're older and can talk normal. Where they're not needing me for the bathroom or food, because I can't wait till. And you know what? I was right. Sure. Now I'm in heaven. Having a 16, 18-year-old talking back a little bit, being a little snotty, being a little rough. Oh, my God, I love it. I love it. This is where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a dad to some teenagers.
Oh, yeah. They're fun.
Yeah, little kids. I just don't understand them. They just, they just need me way too much. And you know what? I'm way too high maintenance to have little kids.
Well, my patience is thinner with little ones. I love them to death,
Right.
but with my older ones, I like because I can give it back just
Right.
because I get it. And
Yes.
so, like my I'm gonna bust her out right now, but my
Do it,
13-year-old
bust it.
yesterday thought she was gonna be kind of pissy
Right.
in the morning time, and so I pulled up my my Pandora station. I put little kid like
That's
toddler songs and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I drop her off every single morning at the carpool, and so there's a lot of people around and everything.
Right.
So I was like, "Oh, you're gonna be pissy today? Okay, well, let's all be pissy together."
Yeah.
And so I turned it on. I turned as loud as I could, rolled all the windows down, rolled up. Everybody's looking, and she's embarrassed and jumps
That's
out.
funny.
And then, but see, the trick is, I know that they actually like that.
Yeah.
She-
Up.
See, she liked it so much she sounded like a duck.
She was laughing about it.
But no, I mean, but she pretended like she didn't like it and was
Right.
embarrassed. But I know she kind of liked it because then later on last night, she
Right.
kind of threw the gauntlet down by saying, "Oh, but you're only going to do that if I'm pissy." I was
Right.
like, "Really?" Challenge accepted.
Exactly.
So this morning we pulled up, listened to the ABC song as loud as I can make it.
Yeah, that's
but she
funny.
likes it, and I get that with the older ones. The younger ones, they loved it from the get go, and they was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right, cool," but it didn't have the same effect, I guess.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you, Trinity. I think it's awesome, and I don't know. So I'm hoping that we got to start closing up. By the way, so be thinking about any closing statements. But I'm hoping that somebody out there kind of at least is willing to listen. I know it's weird because if you post anything about pot or kratom and you hashtag it at all, you get a lot of people that love it that are
Dude,
all of a
we-
sudden
we,
new followers.
promoted the
It's
show.
really weird.
I got like 3 or 4 new followers just from Kratom.
yeah,
One
I'm
was
not-
like a
I'm not-
Kratom agency or something.
Some of you are way too invested in that deal.
Yeah.
And I get it. Fine, do what you got to do. But those of you that are suffering a drug problem or an alcohol problem or something like that, a heroin problem, an opiate problem, just do a little bit more research on your own. Try, actually doing the deal the right way first. And let me back up. Let me not say the right way so we don't argue here. Try doing it in ways that have some science behind it and some proven stuff behind it. You know what I mean? Some factual information.
Science is not the enemy.
Right. Evidence-based treatments,
Yeah.
evidence-based approaches, where someone else can be held accountable. Not just an opportunist. I'm a capitalist, but when I'm suffering in my addiction, it's probably not when I'm asking a capitalist how to help me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask an opportunist or a capitalist to help me when I'm in a hole dying.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find a humanitarian at that point in time. I need to find a person who loves people at that point in time, who sacrifices a lot in their own life to be there for others. That's who I need at the time. I don't need somebody to yes me to death, because when you're already supposedly thinking wrong and doing wrong, the last thing you need is a bunch of people around you saying, "Oh, you're fine," and yesing you to death. Right. Nobody told me I had a drug and alcohol problem. Everybody around me kept saying, "You don't have one. You're great. You're fine." You know how hard it is to get clean and sober when you're the only one thinking this is a problem. How come nobody around me is seeing this and nobody else? Because they're all benefiting from it. They're all making money off it. They're all getting free stuff off of it.
Yeah, or they're having a good time.
Yeah. Or they're not there where I'm at. They're not in the same. They don't know what I'm really thinking because I'm not sharing these crazy thoughts because I can't even understand them at the moment.
Well, it's always fun when somebody else is paying the bill.
Right. Anyway. All right. So birthdays or anything like that you guys want to give? This is our last show before Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So no show next week then, right?
No show next week. It'll be a
no live
show. No live show.
Well, I'm sure we'll have something playing on the network.
Right.
Cool.
Anything,
Robbie?
Robbie?
I would just like to say, my closing remarks on the Kratom.
Okay.
I'd say that it's definitely not risk-free, especially for people that have had substance abuse. Like we've said, there is a huge risk of addiction with long-term exposure, but I also don't think it's the most evil thing in the world. So I think that there needs to be more research done on it, but it's not something that you can just go use every day and not have consequences.
Right. Yeah, I'm down for anything that can give you some good feelings without consequence. Are you kidding me? I'm saying investigate it, research it. I'm just not going to advertise it until I have some research.
Yeah. And
but why wouldn't I want to see something that can make you feel good and not have consequences?
Sure. Exactly.
But to say that because it's natural, we never really touched on that, and we should have. Listen, boys and girls. Poison ivy is natural, and not one of you is making a cream out of it. It's just not the way it's done. Coca plant, natural. Poppy plant, natural. Tobacco, natural. In your definition of natural, that is. In your definition of natural, those are all plants.
Sure.
And yet, those plants come with their own little dangers.
See, I usually take it even further back than that.
Okay.
Because I get into this natural discussion.
I bet you do.
Way more than I want to when it comes to health and fitness and nutrition and whatnot. And my favorite thing is everybody always wants to talk about natural nature and everything else. But what they're not realizing, if you take it all the way back to the beginning, the second you took those trees down and tilled the land to put those seeds, like it's no longer natural.
Yeah.
Like that field wasn't natural.
Man interrupted.
Yeah. You took down the trees, you created a fertile environment, and then you planted things. That in and of itself is not a natural thing.
Yeah.
And then whatever substance you're consuming, you didn't just walk off and pick it off the vine and eat it. It was processed through, processing and then put in your plate. So let's just chill with the whole natural vibe.
And once you smoke something, that just changes its whole composition.
You're ingesting
Right?
fire. Like, let's just not get it twisted.
Yeah, you didn't walk through like a field of pot burning and like that's how you got high.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that you ended up doing anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to thank everybody out there for listening. We want to thank everybody for being part of the network, WPSN99.com. Of course, the Problem Solving Network. The Couch Live airs each and every Friday live. If you listen to this replay, just each and every Friday live from 12 to 1 p.m. Thanks to our good friends at Premier Addiction Treatment Centers and Journey Pure, the Now Matters More Foundation, and Orange County Coalition for Drug-Free Community. Of course, like that. Again, there's no parting words from any of you guys. Make sure to tune in some other shows. We've got another recovery show called Recovery Radio. You can hear it right here on this network at WPSN99.com. Make sure to go to WPSN99.com and find out when that airs for you. But other than that, nothing? We good?
Adios.
All right. Adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.